Hey guys, LevelCap here, and welcome to This Week in Gaming, your weekly news recap on everything going on in the world of video games. Today, we've actually got some good news regarding PlayStation games. A missing in action tactical FPS has finally resurfaced, BioWare has begun to lay off senior staff, and much more. PlayStation seems to have finally come to its senses. PlayStation Network accounts will become optional for several PC ports of their single-player titles. This list includes Spider-Man 2, God of War Ragnarok, The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, and Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered. PlayStation have flip-flopped over this account requirement, especially after facing backlash for implementing it in Helldivers 2 after release. The result was thousands of gamers around the world suddenly finding themselves locked out of a game that they had paid for and been playing. Hopefully going forward, PlayStation can set a consistent policy so that people are not buying their products only later to have the rules changed on them. In other PlayStation news, the launch for Marvel's Spider-Man 2 on PC has not gone particularly well. The highly anticipated port is currently sitting at a mixed review score, with players citing frequent crashes, rendering the game unplayable. Technical issues also include missing lighting, massive frame rate drops, audio sync issues, and more. The studio handling the port, Nixies, says that they're aware of these issues. No Man's Sky is back in the top 20 selling games on Steam thanks to its latest update, Worlds Part 2. This is yet another free and ambitious update for the space exploration game that adds billions of new stars, trillions of new planets, deeper oceans, enhanced lightings, a new quest line, and more. One of the biggest additions is explorable gas giant planets. These planets are considered endgame content with conditions that will test even veteran players. Former developers from Red Orchestra and Rising Storm games have re-announced their upcoming tactical FPS 83. This is an upcoming milsim-like FPS title that was originally announced 6 years ago by Antimatter Games. But last year, the studio was closed, leaving 83's fate in limbo. Thankfully, it seems like the devs from Antimatter have formed a new studio called Blue Dot Games. They released a new trailer for the game this week alongside refreshes to its Steam page. All of this was made possible apparently by a generous donation from the game's Discord server. Marvel Snap has signed on with a new US-based publisher in the wake of the TikTok ban taking the hit card game with it. The game was previously published by a subsidiary of ByteDance, the company that also owns and operates TikTok. They're working with US publisher Skystone Games to ensure future bans of Chinese companies don't affect their product. Marvel Snap went offline for more than a day following the ban of TikTok. Senior developers from BioWare confirmed that the studio has done a round of layoffs, including devs from the Dragon Age and Mass Effect franchises. A recent press release from the company excluded mentioning these layoffs, but those affected have taken to social media to confirm that they've been let go. This is the second round of layoffs BioWare have done, following the 50 employees that were let go in 2023. BioWare are currently working on a new Mass Effect game, and the layoffs were explained as part of a restructuring focus on the project. The streamer DrDisrepect's former game studio is shutting down and taking their extraction shooter Deadrop offline. Midnight Society was co-founded by DrDisrepect, and he was fired by them last year following reports that the streamer was banned by Twitch in 2020 due to illicit and inappropriate communications with a minor on the platform. Until these reports broke, his ban had been kept under wraps. Once the news broke, however, the floodgates of consequences opened up. Deadrop was positioned as an NFT game with founders paying $50 to get a pass that served as both access to ongoing playtests of the game and as an NFT that they could sell or trade. Loot extracted in matches was also positioned as NFTs, with players essentially expecting to compete over incredibly rare NFTs that they could then sell for a profit. And somewhat ironically, many games these days do have economies that transact on real-world money and have people selling items that they find in games. They just don't run on a blockchain, which seems somewhat irrelevant in this case. Let me know if you can give a good reason why a blockchain is needed to actually attribute value to an in-game item. The creator of a 60 FPS console patch for Bloodborne says that they've been issued a DMCA takedown notice. The modder and YouTuber Lance McDonald announced on Twitter that his mod for From Software's iconic PlayStation exclusive Bloodborne had to be taken offline due to the notice issued by Sony. They asked him to remove any links to the patch online, and he's complied with their request. The patch runs on PlayStation 4 systems that have been jailbroken, letting them run mods and other third-party content. And while this kind of takedown would generally be more understandable, the mod itself is doing a great service to gamers who actually want to be able to play Bloodborne at an acceptable frame rate, which the official developers have not done. The co-founder of Rockstar Games and former creative director of Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption, Dan Houser, announced his upcoming game and media project called Absurd Ventures. Houser left Rockstar Games in 2020 after spending an incredible 20 years at the company. He left to pursue an independent career, and it looks like his first project will be a mixed media versus of characters, games, animations, and potentially more. The official YouTube channel for Houser's studio has trailers and associated media for multiple audio fiction stories, though no gameplay of whatever they have in development is public yet. The action brawler MulitVersus is shutting down for good at the end of its 5th season. The game originally launched in 2022 and had a pretty successful launch, only for players to lose interest due to a lack of content and gameplay balance issues. Developer Warner Brothers took the game offline to rework it and relaunch MulitVersus earlier last year. Unfortunately, it didn't recapture its original audience or manage to grow a new one, and is shutting down at the end of May. It'll be playable offline, but there'll be no refunds for players who purchased in-game items. Killing Floor 3 is launching on March 25th. The game is the latest in the zombie horde survival franchise and is set a bit further in the future than the previous titles. There's a closed beta test running from February 20th to the 24th that players can sign up for on the game's official website. The preview reviews of Dune Awakening are in, and they're generally positive. Player reviews of a playtest hit Steam's discussion forums last week with complaints about forced PvP and the lack of meaningful in-game content. However, review outlets are generally praising the game as a serious survival MMO shooter that offers a fresh take on the legendary franchise. It's set in a world where the central character, Paul Atreides, was never born, essentially giving the developer free rein to invent their own storyline for the game. Reviewers say the game's emphasis on hardcore combat and base building is done particularly well, balancing out the game's challenging survival systems with meaningful gameplay and activities. Dune Awakening is scheduled to launch sometime this year. In our final story this week, GOG have resurrected Dino Crisis 1 and 2 on PC. Both games had official PC releases, but they've long been delisted and are hard to find via legal means. But GOG have released the games in a new bundle on their store that includes some hefty updates to ensure compatibility on modern systems. These improvements include 4K rendering support, proper localization, new rendering options, bug fixes for animations and cutscenes, and more. That wraps it up for today's episode of This Week in Gaming. If there's any other interesting stories you think we should cover, let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave me a like and subscribe for more content like it. Up next, check out this comparison between Stalker 2 and Stalker Gamma, which is kind of the height of the original Stalker's modding scene compared to each other. The results of this comparison may surprise you. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.